All right, man. We're rolling. How you doing?
Great, great. Thanks for having me again, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I met you for the first time at an event, a school event. It was actually my kid's school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I came up to you and I was like, "Hey, man, I want to have you on the podcast." I handed you a card.
I
But,
remember it was what's the name of this? It was in Okemos, right on Jolly Road.
yeah, Hiawatha. Yeah,
Hiawatha. That's right, Hiawatha happening. I remember. Yeah, yeah.
but ever since then, I've kind of seen you everywhere. You're at, like literally every event I see or not camper trailer
The
parked,
trailer. Yep.
and I'm like, man, this guy's everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, we that was the idea was while we're testing our operation and getting better at things at the Allen Neighborhood Center at the Accelerator Kitchen. We get a trailer or a food truck, but I ended up getting a trailer, and then use that to really, Nickelodeon it out in terms of like the brightness and everything, and then it's a walking billboard. So the cool thing about it is that we get to kind of choose what festivals we want to do and who we want to work with, and we love the Lansing community, the greater Lansing community. So that really, especially the first summer that I had it, I was like saying yes to everything. So the first summer I got it, I definitely like maxed myself out at the end. It was crazy. And then this past summer was even crazier, but it was a little bit just more strategic and more, not strategic, but it just, I was definitely more smarter with the trailer this year. And everyone that we did like counted. So, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
this past summer was awesome. It was like definitely our best summer.
That's awesome. Now, you said you started in 2019.
Yeah, yep. I started Tantay in 2019, out of the Allen Neighborhood Center's incubator kitchen, and then I started doing farmers markets. That one was my first one, and then I did the East Lansing Farmers Market. And then at the same time, I was doing in-home private dining experiences.
Wow.
So I do like 4 to 5 courses, up to like 12 to 15 people max, because I would do drinks too, like Peruvian pisco sours, alcoholic drinks, if they wanted. And yeah, that's how it all started. Yeah, in the summer of 19.
Where did the idea come from? Have you always been into cooking and
I've always been into eating, but luckily for me, being Peruvian, our food is awesome. And luckily for me is that like my mom, my dad, family members were pretty good at it too, but nothing from like a restaurant standpoint, just home, having family in the kitchen. So what food did to people is what really, really, what I got interest in, and just eating all the time and loving to eat, especially Peruvian cuisine. I've eaten stir fries, in a hole in a wall out of a cart, fancy restaurant, and then just make it myself. So I just always had a passion for Peruvian cuisine, but yeah, it's always been a balance of that and then what food does to people. Yeah. So how I got into it was that. Yeah, even in college, I would have friends, put some money together and I'd go to Publix, get some ingredients.
Publix?
Yeah,
Are you from
Publix.
the South?
I'm from Miami originally.
Oh,
I'm from
okay.
Peru originally, but I grew up in Miami.
Okay, I'm from West Palm Beach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, right south of you guys.
Yep. Yeah, Miami's a wild place.
It's a wild place.
It's a completely different country down there.
It is. It's a bubble. I love it. I love that place so much. It's wild. It's really, very wild, but I love it.
How long did you live in Miami?
So I'm 38.
You're 38?
I'm 38 years old.
Holy cow, you look good for 38.
Thanks. I would say probably about like 31 years.
Wow.
32 years.
Were you born and raised there?
I was born in Lima, and then my parents brought me to Miami, and we traveled back and forth a lot because both of my parents, my grandparents were living there, and we have just a ton of family, and my mom and my dad were like one of the only ones in their family that were in Miami, so we were always drawn to go back for the holidays and stuff, or some family members coming to Miami. But yeah, I've been living in the States, well, in Miami, well, in the States for, yeah, probably like 32 total years.
Wow.
But, we've been going back and forth. My dad and my grandfather worked in aviation. So
Wow.
in the 90s, we traveled a little bit. We were fortunate enough to do that.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Miami is such a unique place for a bunch of different cultures coming together and like influencing the culture with their food. There's so many different kinds of food down there.
Yeah, there is, and it's amazing. Again, like just I really lucky to grow up in a town like that. I mean, it is wild, but I mean, it's a melting pot.
It really is.
You got people from all over the world.
I went to Miami like 2 years ago, a year ago, maybe. It was like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I was driving near Miami Beach, or is it South Beach?
Yeah.
And this lady was just walking across the street, breastfeeding a baby, pushing a stroller. And I'm like, wow, you'd only see that in Miami.
Yeah. No, it's people don't stop. We just keep going.
Just keep going.
And
that's something that I respect a lot about different cultures, because like my dad's from Honduras, and so all my family on that side came from Honduras, and everybody that came here, they're all hardworking people. They've all started businesses. They're all successful, and so that's something that they're constantly just going and going and going.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that a lot.
And especially, my parents came to Miami, they wanted a different opportunity at what they wanted to do, and that's the thing, is that I think generally when people come from outside the States, and they want to make their life here, it's a new playing field, so like you got to get out there. The only way to learn is to get out there and just do it. So yeah,
that's something too that I think that like growing up here, like I'm from the United States, but growing up in like, I guess like in that kind of culture, I feel like Americans make it seem difficult to obtain like a business and have a successful business. Whereas like a lot of your immigrants, like they have no choice but to succeed. Right. And they have this idea of like what the American dream is, and they're just constantly chasing it.
Yes.
And then that leads to their success. And I feel like, I don't know, it's so difficult for young people and like people in, I guess, today's culture to be motivated to be successful and to like start their business and just work hard at it.
Yeah. No, especially
instant gratification.
Oh no, totally. I think so too. I think there's some of that. But yeah, and I mean, for me, like my generation, I'm connected to my parents that came here, again, for these opportunities and stuff. So like I saw them work so much. Like, man, my mom had 2-3 jobs. My dad 2 at the time when I was younger. I think I had like 2 or 3 babysitters in a day. I think my mom told me because like that, everything was, I'm an only child, but I remember we moved so many times around Miami, and then going back to Peru. Like I moved in 2nd grade, and then moved again in like 6th grade to Peru, and then came back like 10th grade.
Wow.
But everything was, chasing opportunities and stuff that they thought, was worth it and stuff. And I mean, everything at the end of the time, I mean, they're like, my parents are about to retire and they're happy. And I mean, they've lived a pretty crazy, awesome life, working hard.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I got that. I mean, it's almost like a chip on your shoulder in terms of, like when it's not a chip on the shoulder, but it's like that in terms of like, it's in the back of your head, like I think that what you're saying is, with like our parents or those, immigrants that come in, like, they got that, like, we're here in the U.S., like, we're going to go, we're going to do this is how we're going to succeed.
They were given an opportunity and they ran with it.
Right. So so that's on the back of their mind, so like everything leads up to that. So yeah, I totally, I see that for sure.
Yeah. I guess my point, and I didn't make it clear, was that I feel like we have every opportunity here in the United States to succeed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize the potential that we have.
Yeah.
And so we just squander it away.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
Whereas a lot of immigrants, when they come here, they know that this is their chance.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you come here as an immigrant, you have no choice but to like start a business or because you're here on like a work visa.
Right,
You have to work. You have to be
That's a good point.
successful.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of forced to. Whereas like somebody who's born here doesn't have to do anything if they don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. I appreciate that work ethic, and it's something that I admire in my family members. Like that's awesome that they ran with every opportunity they had.
Yeah.
So how does your parents feel about you starting your business? I mean, you obviously they came here to provide a better life for themselves and for you. And now that you've started your own business, you're succeeding because you started off in the Allen Center and then worked your way up. You got a food truck or trailer, and then now you're opening up a storefront.
Yes. Yeah.
How do they feel about that?
They feel really, really, proud. They're really happy for me. It's been a journey the past 3 months, because 3 years, I started this right before the pandemic and then kept going with it. 2020 was tough. My wife's a nurse, anesthetist. So she was intubating COVID patients since the start. So 2020 was tough. It was rough. It was, but we kept going with it. And 2020 was just like a really big learning experience. Everything was on the table, everyone trying to figure out different ways to do whatever they're trying to do and be safe and alive. So, what I'm trying to say is, the past 3 years, because if it was a pandemic, my parents didn't really get to come here too much. I think since the pandemic, my parents have been here maybe twice. It took a year to get vaccinations. We were interested in that and they were too. So we wanted to make sure we had that before anyone would show up anywhere. So that took some time. I don't know what year they got them, but in 2021, I think they just started coming and then seeing what has been, what I've been working on and stuff. So, they're very proud in this, but I kind of wish they were here during the process, you know? So they're kind of like, they've just been seeing it, year by year, once a year, in person when they come, but they're really proud. They're really, really proud, especially because, we're going to be Lansing's first Peruvian restaurant ever. And then we'll be the second one or the third one. I hear there's a new Peruvian Mexican restaurant in Grand Rapids.
Peruvian Mexican?
Yeah, like a Peruvian Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
I heard. So yeah, there's only 2 or 3 of us.
Wow, that's insane.
And yeah, man, and then we'll be the only one in Mid-Michigan. So we're excited. We're very, very. They're very proud.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool, man.
Yeah.
I had a question. I don't remember what it was now. Oh, yeah. What brought you to Lansing? You're from Miami, or actually you're from Peru, but Miami. What brought you here?
So before I was doing Tantay, I was working on airplanes. I was an aircraft avionics technician.
Wow.
So I met my wife, Melissa, in Miami. She was going to the University of Miami while I was working at this like banner tower business. These airplanes that tow banners on the beach and stadiums and stuff. I met her through a good friend of mine, Raleigh. He was a pilot at the time, so him and I were pretty close at our job, and he was living with Melissa's roommate. So I went to pick him up one time, go out, and I met her, and
you're like, who is that?
Yeah, who is that? Whoa. So yeah, and then the rest is history. We met there in Miami, got engaged. She's originally from, I believe, Detroit, but grew up in the greater Lansing area. Lansing, Detroit. I'm sorry, Lansing, Grand Ledge. And she always said it, like, yo, if we're going to get married, like, we're going back to Michigan. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, we're in Miami. This is awesome. But yeah, no, got engaged, came here, started our family. We have a daughter that's 10, Nelly, and my son, August, who just turned 8.
August, that's cool.
August. So yeah, we have 2 kids. And yeah, we've been here since 2. We got married in 2012, and then we moved here in 2013.
Wow. Oh, so like 11 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
Very cool. And then coming here, like, why did you start the business? Was there like a lack of opportunities for like jobs and skills, and what was?
So my situation was unique because, I worked in aviation like 12 years before I got here. And then, and I was working, at Miami International Airport at the time. So on like Boeing 767, so big jets, over 140 passengers. And then moving to Lansing, there wasn't like a big airport here that had like a maintenance facility. So
Lansing doesn't have that?
Well, so Lansing's a smaller airport, but all the big maintenance stuff, the stuff that I studied for, that I had experience for, they were doing it in like in Detroit or some other big facility at a bigger airport.
Right.
So if like an airplane, something happens to it here, and it can fly back to like a base or something like a hub, then that's what they'll do. They'll like ferry flight it to somewhere else, no passengers, and then they'll work on it there with the whole team and
That's
squad.
interesting.
So, so I couldn't find like an airline, and then, and when we first moved here, I stayed at home with my daughter for her first year, and then just trying to, scope out the lay of the land in terms of aviation. So everything, all those bigger jobs, especially like pay, that matched what my experience and stuff were more like around Grand Rapids and Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But we stuck here in Lansing because my in-laws are here, so they were a big support for us when we had our kids, babies and stuff. And so yeah, it was a little challenging just finding the right spots. In the meantime, I just stayed home with my daughter, went back to school a little bit.
What'd you go to school for?
So I went to school for aircraft maintenance management, and then I just wanted to finish my bachelor's degree. So I did that online, and then I started working at LCC's aviation technology program in Mason. So I was a lab instructor there. And then after that, I went to Battle Creek, started working for a company called Duncan Aviation. It's like a pimp my ride place for corporate jets. In terms of like, if they want, it's a great place. It's a hub here in the Midwest for a lot of corporate
private jets.
Private jets, yeah. So Gulfstream, Dassault Falcons, Cessna Citations. Pimp my ride because customers would come and basically, at the time, a lot of airplanes had to redo all their like avionics, make it up to date because there's a lot of airplanes in the sky now.
Mm-hmm.
So your avionics, like your electronics, have to be like up to date because before there'd be like a distance in between airplanes can fly on top or below each other.
Oh, okay.
And it used to be more distance, but now it's like getting closer and closer as they're traveling.
Oh
like
my gosh,
over 400 miles an hour. But in order to do that, like the FAA was like, all right, everyone's got to update their freaking systems, and that was a lot of money that they had to spend on their airplane. So the facility that I worked at, they were like a huge hub for that new upgrade. But then if an owner, like Richard Branson's airplane was there.
Of course.
A lot of Saudi princesses. Wow. I've worked on like Red Bull's airplane.
Did you meet any of these people?
No, usually it's their like pilots
right.
or like their chief mechanics that will just show up to these places.
Drop the plane off,
and then just pop in and out every day and make you nervous a little bit while you're working on their like multi-million-dollar jet. But how I got into doing Tantay was just that, yeah, there was a void. There was no Peruvian food. Coming from Miami to here, I was like, whoa, like, man, everything that I had at arm's reach in terms of culture and cuisine and, diversity, it was, there was a lot, missing what I was used to, right, living in Miami. So in here, the first thing that as a Peruvian, I was like, where the heck is the first Peruvian restaurant or the closest one? So and at the time I was working like a night shift, a second shift, traveling like an hour and a half to work.
Just hating life.
Just kind of hating life. Yeah, because I was, not around a lot. Like, it was just a tough time. We were, at that point we were living in East Lansing. We moved to East Lansing from Lansing. We had 2 kids already, babies, 2 years apart. And I wasn't seeing them a lot.
Second shift's hard for a family.
Yeah. Second shift was pretty tough, and yeah, I was missing out on a lot. So I was like, talking to my wife, and she knew I was always passionate about something like this. So, we talked about it, and she, gave me the green light for it. She's like, if, this is what you really want to do and you're passionate about it, and she believes me, so believed in me at the time. So she's like, go for it, so yeah, I quit my job, resigned, and then, just started really, really working, honestly, harder than I've ever worked in my life.
So what was the process like? How did you get involved in the Allen Center? I mean, because you had this idea, and then how did that come about? Like, what did you do? What was the first thing you did?
So
Just asking in case like somebody hears this and maybe they want to somehow get involved in that.
And I love that, because that's the whole thing. Like since the beginning, I've always wanted I'm just an overthinker, and sometimes that can be a fault, because it'll just take me a little longer to get things going,
right?
Because I'm just really thinking about everything in ahead.
What could go wrong?
What can go wrong, or what opportunities ahead of time that don't even exist yet,
right?
And I think that's what an entrepreneur is like, anticipating the next move that hasn't even happened yet.
Right.
So I my mother-in-law gave me the idea of the Allen Neighborhood Center. She's like, I think they have a kitchen a commercial kitchen you can rent, and you can cook out of, and how do you say it? And yeah, it's like start like a business incubator. So I went out there and met a close friend of mine, I haven't talked to in a while. She was the kitchen and facilities manager at the time. And I remember meeting with her and telling her like, hey, I want to bring, do Peruvian cuisine. And, I don't have money to just buy a food truck or get into a brick and mortar, and, I have a lot to learn first, because I didn't go to culinary school or anything, but I know my cuisine, well enough to be confident to start, Tantay. And then I remember when her name is Lindsay, when she showed me the kitchen, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like it literally, like, 10 burners, refrigerators, ice machine, dishwasher, prep tables, pans, pots. I don't have to pay for pots or pans or utensils or anything like that. So it was like a no-brainer. And then the only requirement was, study up, get a Serve Safe Food Manager license, and then put how do you say it, an operational, handbook together, your standard operating procedures, submit that to the Ingham County Health Department, pay a fee for that. And then they grant you, permission to serve to the public at a bigger scale,
Wow.
And then I got all that as soon as I could. I mean, as soon as I pitched at this leap competition, and as soon as I got my $1,000, I just spent it all on like the licensure, like pots and pans and more stuff that I needed for the dinner parties.
Wow.
And yeah, as soon as I got all that, I just, tried to be in there as much as I could.
And then with that space, you had to share it with other people, right?
Yep,
So
yeah.
it's like a couple, like you work one day or a shift or something, and then somebody else does.
Yeah. It's like that. So yeah, once you're in there, you want to know, what days you can go in, how many hours, and then you would submit that. And if the kitchen was available, basically you're renting it out, you're by the hour. But yeah, I mean, I started in there with a lot of other local businesses.
I know the Smoothie Queen lady was in there.
Smoothie Queen, Tammy was in there when I first started. Mr. Leslie Marcus,
Yeah.
a really close friend of mine. We basically, I've seen him hustle. We were both hustling at the same time. Like when I was in there, when I was not in there, he was in there. I remember like leaving at like 1 a.m. after prepping for a farmer's market that I was doing the next morning. And I just leave everything in the refrigerator because I'd come back, like just literally go sleep on the couch, come back, and then make all the food in an hour and a half, put it in the Outback, and then head to the East Lansing farmer's market.
Oh, man.
And then just rushing, like I'd just be there like late, and then just like setting up, just one man show, going back and forth. But I remember leaving at 1, and Marcus would go in, and then he'd just put in his hours too, and we were all just starting. So it was cool because that's something very, very valuable, and that's what I think is ridiculously unique about that place at ANC is that, you know, you have all these other people, you know, trying to do, just trying to fulfill their dream,
Right.
And you just see, you know, the tremendous hustle, you know, physical, mental, that people put in there, you know, to make Peruvian food, smoothies, a sauce, a dry rub, ketchup. I mean, like, there's so many things that come out of there, you know. Like, I know Sleepwalker started there.
Wow.
Jeremy started there. Kaylee,
Yeah.
Apple Blossom Kombucha started there. Yeah, a lot of really awesome names.
That's so crazy. I mean, because when you think of like a business, somebody sees your food truck and they're like, wow, that's like the ideal business. But what they don't see is all the hustle and the hard work and the late nights and everything that went into it. You jumping off the couch, probably not showering, and going to the farmer's market.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. Crying on the way there, crying on the way back. Yeah. Yeah.
Those days probably are extremely valuable.
They're very valuable. And again, that's what's so unique about Allen Neighborhood Center is that because, you know, entrepreneurship, someone said this, who was it? But someone said it could be like a lonely road because, you know, you're hustling whatever you're trying to do and no one really knows what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
everything looks easy.
One, you're trying to figure it out, you know, along the way. And two, you're doing it. You know, you know exactly what it takes to do it. And then what people see is just, you know, when you're out there face, you know, value or whatever, or however you say it, you know, but behind the scenes, man, it's, you know, it can get crazy. So, but what's nice about the Allen Neighborhood Center is, you know, I didn't feel too alone too many times because, again, I saw other people walking in the door trying to do the same thing, you know, or feeling like I felt the other day or whatever, you know, ups and downs, a lot of ups and downs, but that's what's unique about that spot is that you don't feel alone, like you're the only one doing it because you see other people doing it too.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So going from that and then starting the food truck, what was the change and what did that look like? Did you hire people after that? Did things get easier?
Yeah. So at that time in the incubator was a lot of learning for me. I had a really awesome team. A friend of mine, Mike, he chef, a lot of experience, like a commander in the kitchen. I learned a lot from him. And in terms of like systems, processes, and that's what really I was like super into all the time because I just wanted to make it simple. It's so easy to lose money, you know, in the restaurant industry. Like one bad event sets you back, you know, and if you have a bigger team that's even, you know, it'll set you back more, you know. So luckily for me, that's why it's always been like keeping it as tight as possible. But the transition was really just always like learning and then going to the next step. At the time, like in 2021, I was doing, you know, in-home stuff. And that was great because, you know, I was showcasing Peruvian cuisine in a very unique, you know, personal in your home situation. And then great conversations. I got to talk about Peru, history, culture, the food, but then also like throw in entrepreneurship a little bit in there, like, you know, explain what I'm trying to do and then pick people's minds, you know, like what they look for in restaurants or, you know, what defines quality, what their definition of quality in a restaurant is, you know, is it the food? Is it because it's organic? Is it because, you know, the employees are treated fairly, get paid correctly, sourcing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the incubator did that, and then the Allen Neighborhood Center got an awesome big grant so that they can do an accelerator kitchen. So that was like the next kitchen. That's where I'm at now that we're about to get out of. And that's where really I've built it because that is like a shared kitchen space, lease. It's not rented by the hour. You bring your own equipment.
Where's that at?
The accelerator, that's at the Allen Neighborhood Center also. It's on the Kalamazoo side.
Okay.
So that's where we've been operating for the past 2 years.
Okay, that's where I've been then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can sit down there, limited dining. But yeah, I started there with Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes, Smoothie Queen, and we were the first three. And then yeah, so that the point of the accelerator was to, further prove your systems, your operation, your menu.
Do they set goals for you to advance your business?
They don't well, so they have a kitchen manager now that's been doing a phenomenal job since he's been there. He's got a lot of restaurant experience. He's opened up sushi restaurants. So, he's very valuable in that operation because, yeah, he like, he'll come in there and he'll yell at us and like, hey, you got, but that's what it is. We're all learning, and not
Right.
yell at us, but,
Right.
he'll be out there and like, hey, just make sure, this is good. I mean, when you're in a shared kitchen also, it's 3 different operations. So, I mean, you got to make sure that it's, things are organized, clean, sanitized. Workbenches are sometimes shared, but we all do a really good job of, making sure that, everything is clean and sanitized. And that's how it's been since we started there. But yeah, it's a shared kitchen. So there's no like fryers, it's limited. There's ovens, there's stuff for for each business to grow, but that being said, also, you're limited, which I think is great on, what you can do in that kitchen. You can't like have a big menu.
Right.
I don't like that's gives me a headache. But we had to work with what we had and maximize on that, which I think is awesome because I would rather do it like that, just like, build it small, limited. And then from there, because then that's why it's, because especially the last 2 years I've been looking for restaurant space, but being in a kitchen like that and starting a business, then you don't need, like you can see a restaurant and you're like, wow, what a huge kitchen. It looks amazing. I want it. But then you're like, wait, I don't really need this big kitchen.
Right.
Our menu is this is how many team members we need. So,
how many things did you start out with on the menu?
So the first items were, pollo saltado, which is a chicken stir fry. No, actually it was chicken stew. It was ají de gallina. And then it was huancaína sauce, which is a mildly spicy cheese sauce that we started at the beginning. And then I did a quinoa salad. So a vegetarian option, a chicken option, and then like a sauce. But as I was growing this, then came some challenges like sourcing Peruvian ingredients to Lansing, where it does not exist, has been really tough, and
where do you have to get your products from?
So for the past 2.5 years, I've been driving to Ann Arbor once a month,
Wow.
fishing like cases. And if I can't find it at the spot that I'm getting it at, then I'll be going to like at Ypsilanti.
Oh my gosh.
To another local, like, Latin American store. And because there's no trucks, like these peppers come frozen from Peru if you want them from Peru, because I don't want the paste we make our own paste, fresh. So, all these peppers are, Peruvian ingredients get to like Detroit, get to Chicago, then they're dished out from there, but there's not like a distribution, like a truck that's like just coming. And I remember contacting like the major Peruvian distributor, and they're like, yo, if you want us to bring like a truck to Lansing, like you're going to have to fill that up, and you're going to have to like only do it once every 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, wow, okay. So yeah, sourcing has been a big, big challenge, especially like getting Peruvian products at a good price too, because you don't want to like have, just because it's Peruvian, mark up the prices and everything. Everything was very, like Heidi said, like it had to make sense, so that's why our menu is a little smaller.
If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly. So that's why I started slow, at the beginning.
Yeah.
I made the cheese sauce, but then I was like, man, this cheese sauce takes a lot of Peruvian ají amarillo paste, so like I stopped doing the sauce. And then because I needed it more for like the stews and the stir fries. So yeah, I started with like a quinoa salad, a chicken stew, then added a kale salad, a vegan one, then added the chicken stir fry. Those two were like the main things for like a good year. And then we started venturing into like ají de champiñones, which is like a mushroom stew, the vegetarian version of the chicken stew. And then same thing with the stir fry. We did like a mushroom stir fry. And then once we got into the accelerator, we started adding like ceviche, potatoes, the papa la huancaína, soups, beef stir fries. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is ceviche, that's how do you cook that?
So ceviche.
It's not really cooked, right?
It's not cooked. It's cured, I guess, is how you say it. With lime juice. So our ceviche is awesome, and people, travel a little bit for our ceviche. It's very simple. It's the way I like it. I think the big thing, it's like in a sandwich, like the bread's got to be excellent, So
Yeah.
the fish that we use is snapper. We've been sourcing that from Mertz Meats since we started with ceviche.
Wow.
And we get a good snapper, Indonesian snapper, red snapper when it's available. But good fish, you want like a fish that's not too flaky, not too chewy, not too fishy either. Ceviche is a very delicate thing, and I think that's why people love our ceviche, because it's just simple.
It's healthy too,
It's
right?
healthy. It's very healthy. And our ceviche is with fish. It's not with nothing against shrimp or anything like that, but ours is a little bit just more delicate. So what we do is we draw out the moisture with some salt, and then we add our Peruvian spices, our Peruvian peppers. That's what makes Peruvian cuisine distinct, is the flavors of our peppers and the heat and how they go well with salt, acid. So yeah, you draw out the moisture of that fish, so whatever touches it after, like, it's absorbing, and then throw in some lime juice. And then the lime juice basically like just cures the fish. So once that fish looks like, like your fingers being in a pool, like all pruny or whatever, then it's done. Wow. But it takes about like 7 minutes for us to be confident that after 7 minutes, we're confident that fish is, we know. Yeah, it's good to eat. And then we add some onions. We serve it with sweet potatoes. At the new spot, we're going to start sourcing Peruvian corn, which is traditionally, you put it on the ceviche. We haven't been doing that the past years just because sourcing that has been just challenging to get it always consistently.
Right.
But yeah, that's how simple it is. So when you're biting that ceviche, you have that fish, the heat of it, the salt, and then the sweet potatoes, like, it all balances it out.
Wow. That's very cool. Now, you guys are opening up the storefront on Jolly in Okemos.
Yes.
Right next to Cancun.
Yes.
So you're gonna have two like Hispanic type of restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right next. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to have like a sit down area inside for people to dine in?
Yep. Yeah, we are. We're gonna have sit down. We're gonna have a bar area for people to sit down and eat. We're not gonna have a liquor license. I really want to start off simple. Step by step. That's what's been the best for us, and we're gonna maybe increase the menu one more item, and then just work on really training. There's not a lot of Peruvians here in Lansing, so I'm not gonna bank on just getting Peruvians to cook, or in our
Right.
team. So our training has to be stellar, good culture, so that anybody can go in there and that wants to learn Peruvian cuisine, they will. So
how do you teach that? I mean, I feel like when you're a restaurant owner and an entrepreneur, you kind of have to have all these different skills. And it's like, how do you learn that? Like, how do you learn how to run a business? How do you learn how to cook? And how do you learn how to like market, all these different things?
Yeah.
And then also train, because like that's like a whole nother thing, is being able to educate people in the way you do things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot, and you got to go by it systematically. I always thought first the operation has to be good. We've been doing this with just 3 people this entire time, which a lot of people are like, damn, because we wholesale at a minute level, and we just started doing a little bit more. We took a little break in the summer, putting salads at Capital City Meyer, just because we literally, again, we're 3 people and we were so busy this summer. But we needed it to be, because we want this thing to survive.
Right.
So we had to be out there, So that the beginning was all operation. Like, okay, whoever was going in, like, you just taste everything, and it's fun because I get to talk about the culture and stuff. And I think it's important that, my team knows what it means to me too, the quality of it and all that. But at the same time, so to answer your question, how do you teach? I mean, you teach, but this is my opinion. I mean, the better you teach will depend on how, what you're teaching, how simple it's put out. Does that make sense?
You want it to be, you want people to be able to understand
Exactly.
easily.
Exactly.
The process.
So part of our success was that, yeah, we just, I've been able to break it down in a simple way so that people can go in and learn easier rather than just depend on a recipe or anything like that, because I mean, I'm an aircraft technician, so like to work on aircraft, you have to have the manual out. You have to by law, so to make sure that, you have all the resources that you have to do it. Right. So you can go back, turning a wrench and stuff like that. That's not hard, but like learning what to do when something hits the fan, what I'm saying? That's different. So like in the kitchen, I'm always, pretty, I just make it certain that we're all tasting stuff that we're knowing. And because if it doesn't taste the way we want it to, then we know how to fix it. Does it need a little bit more milk, a little bit of salt? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I feel like
you get fat real quick.
We don't eat a lot in the kitchen. I mean, we have to sometimes remind each other to eat. It gets, it's weird. I mean, I will be cooking and Chelsea is the one that cooks a lot. She's like our executive chef, basically. She's awesome. And she's been with us for 2 years now, I think, yeah. But she cooks some really good Peruvian food, man. Oh my gosh. When I'm not there, she's there. And I mean, most of our reviews, honestly, in the last year has been her cooking there. Wow. So I feel really proud of that. But again, I think, yeah, if you want to train, then everything, like what you're training and how you're laying it out has to be simple so that they can succeed,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the manufacturing world, and so I work at GM, so it's all a process. Every job has like what they call a JES. It's the process to the job, and it's step by step.
Yes.
You put the part on the car like this. You turn it this many times. You run this down, then you run that down. You have to follow it exactly.
Yes.
But I would assume that working in a kitchen is not always like that. Like you had said, you got to taste it, and then if it doesn't taste quite right, now you got to like mix something else in. You know what to do to fix it.
Yeah,
that's important. That's really cool.
And what you just said, because that's basically my work experience has been like that. Like okay, you have your we called it the like the squawk or the job.
It's like
you had your oh my gosh, you see, it's been a while now. But anyways, you have your piece of paper, right? And it tells you what you're going to do. You're going to work on this airplane, the client's this person, and we're working on removing the left, tire. Okay, so in that paper document, it'll say, okay, removing the tire should take this amount of hours, and then go to manual page chapter this for reference, and you'll need these tools to do the job,
Right.
So, so I've been working on basically applying that type of process into our processes, our systems, so that, so like our salads, like we have a book and it shows the salads, know, what one batch is. So before the week, I know how many batches I need to do. I need to deliver a batch to Hooked. Half a batch of containers to Capital City Meyer. And then we need a batch for the food truck because we have 2 events this week, and then we need one for service for at the restaurant. So we need 4 to 5 batches. So, So then in the book, they know exactly like we need this amount of lentils on hand. We need this amount of barley. We're doing 5 batches. So we need this amount of sauce, and it tells you everything, what one batch is. So then the teammate comes in and sees that, and then they just multiply everything and then make sure that if we need more things, we go get it, or someone goes get it, and then if not, then we just go do it.
That's really cool. I like how you're applying your past experience working in the airline industry to your restaurant. That's pretty cool, because I mean, I'm sure there's so many different ways you could do. You could have your operation set up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably people out there like, well, you're doing it the wrong way. You're doing it the right way. You're supposed to do it this way.
Yeah.
but whatever works.
Exactly.
Right? And if it's easy, then why not do it that way?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool. So why did you name it that? Why is it Tantay, right? That's how you say it?
Tantay.
Why did you name it that?
So, growing the business at Allen Neighborhood Center, especially during the pandemic, a lot of things were, broken supply chain, a lot of broken links. A lot of restaurants were suffering from that. And luckily, fortunately for us, we weren't like a restaurant yet. Where I was still building it, right? So this entire time, I've been trying to just locally source as much as I can, run around, get all the stuff, because we didn't have the volume to just get trucks loads from Gordon or Cisco and stuff.
Right.
A lot of product, right, that will expire in its own shelf life. So, um, so, so yeah, a little bit of running around getting ingredients, but being at the Allen Neighbor Center, something that is promoted just because that's their culture, that's the way the community is there, is that it's very community based. So I mean, they have a outstanding, very successful veggie box program, CSA program. I say that so just pinpointing that they just have great connections with local farmers. And then since I was doing farmers markets, I mean, I would once in a while get green onions, tomatoes, potatoes that I wanted, purple potatoes, for the menu because of quality for sure, but also to support our farmers and the community, right? So Tantay, what Tantay means is to bring people together to join, reunir, which means like reunion, so like to bring people together. It's a word in Quechua, and Quechua is the native language of the Incas. So I named it Tantay because, one, we're bringing Peruvian cuisine where it doesn't exist, so that's how we're bringing people together. Something that I've always wanted to do since the start, and we have been, is paying higher than average wages as well. So when it's a good night, or on the food truck or whatever, and we all split the tips. That's just the way we do it. People are making $20 an hour, and
Wow.
that for me is great, and so that makes me want to keep things simple, and
Yeah.
so that we can not have a huge staff, but the ones that are here
Are making a
are
living.
are getting there, right?
Yeah.
So, and that only gets better as we get better, right? As a whole. So
It incentivizes people too to want to be hard
exactly,
workers.
exactly. So,
They know they're going to get rewarded.
so that's how we're bringing people, or we're trying to, within our own staff. And then the other one is sourcing too. So sourcing is something that I've done very little, at a smaller scale. But now that we're going into a brick and mortar, now we can finally use that same model, but scale it up now. So that's why I came up with that name, because it embodies all of that.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So do you still plan on doing like farmers markets and all these other different events and taking the trailer out while having the brick and mortar?
So we're gonna open in winter. So we're looking for like a soft opening in December. That's what I'm gonna try to do. And then probably take a little break and then just go full force, fully open in January. That way we all take a little break, because it has been a hectic summer. So once we're in there, it's going to be the winter. So not a lot of farmers markets, obviously, and the big outdoor events. So it's great timing for us for that trailer to kind of just rest a little bit too, because I got to get new tires on that thing. I gotta spend some money on that trailer. It's a beast. So good. It's heavy. But yeah, that'll rest. And then next summer, we're going to play it by ear. I mean, definitely. I mean, we have a trailer, and the trailer is a mobile kitchen, and it's a big kitchen in there. We can do a lot. So we'll definitely do festivals next year, because there's been just such a incline in awesome like community festivals, like based events around Lansing.
Yeah.
And especially in the past 3 years, I feel like it's blown up more and more and more.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's some honestly, because I've met some of them, most of them, but the people that are putting on these festivals, I mean, they have a great heart and mind. They have the community, in their forefront, with what these festivals are, and who are the vendors, if they're all minorities, like, to answer your question, I think that the people that are doing it, that have really awesome ideas, they're doing it really well,
I think for like, because it seems like, because I started doing this podcast little over 2 years ago now. 2 years. I started in 21, the beginning of 21. But like, it seems like since I started interviewing people, having people on to talk about their events, it seems like there's a huge need for people to feel like like a community connection.
Yeah.
And even more so like for like cultural connections. Like I had Adriana on not too long ago. Adriana Lopez.
Yeah. Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, she was cool.
We got to work together doing
that
the
event,
Hispanic Heritage Festival.
Yeah, that was a cool event. And so awesome. Like there's all those different type of events going on in Lansing, like you had mentioned. And it seems like there's a huge like need for people to express their culture in Lansing.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially because Lansing is a refugee city too. So it's almost becoming like a melting pot.
It is. You know, you can sense that the city wants to be led by its diversity. And you got some diverse people in these organizations that are, you know, piecing the puzzle, you know. So something that I always say is that this town is like ridiculously connected. You know, we all know each other somehow, right? Through someone, our kids or whatever. So, and I think that makes it a great landscape, you know, as a playground for all of us to just go in there and like, you know, take over, you know, what we want to take over. So like, I feel like to answer your question, probably because a lot of people are more connected maybe in terms of like, you know, who has a venue, who has, you know, a platform, you know, that someone else that wants to invite someone else to get on to build their own platform. So at least with the people that I've been working with, I've seen a lot of people that have, you know, been using their platforms so that other ones can be on them. You know, I mean, I'm one that has used someone else's platform many times so that I can build mine. So I think that's awesome. That's very unique. And that's what I love about Lansing.
I think coming out of COVID too, like there was a huge desire. I don't know if it had something to do with being locked up and how people witnessed that all these big restaurants were the ones that, and not just restaurants, but stores even, were the ones that succeeded. And then during COVID, the small businesses are the ones that took the hit. And then like we were talking earlier with about how Saddleback has helped the community out. And people see that and they want to support local businesses that do stuff like that. I mean, like I had Travis on yesterday and we were talking about how Saddleback paid off the school lunch debt. And then them doing that and talking about it provoked other businesses, like 8 other businesses to pay off other school districts' loan debts. Yeah. And so then people hear about that and then they want to support local businesses. And then these local businesses are the ones you see at these events and supporting all these different cultural events and whatever it is. And then, so that, I don't know, it's just like a huge demand now for like small businesses to be supported here locally in Lansing. It's pretty cool.
No, it's great. And you're right. I mean, the pandemic that it definitely did showcase all that, you know, like even like the injustices, you know, in the kitchens, you know, for minorities, you know, people of color, LGBTQ, you know, like, that's something that I've always thought about too, you know, like I do not want to be a restaurant that treats my people like crap. There's no way, you know, like I wouldn't be who I am or where we would be without my team, you know? So, I think people care about that more, you know, and especially like the younger generation, they're really into, you know, sourcing locally, also sustainability, social justice in the kitchen, climate change, all these things. So like if you don't shape, in my opinion, if you don't shape your business that meets those, because that's the new consumer in my mind. So, and the labor force. So if you want that quality of people that are leading your kitchens or buying your items, then you need to, you know, support all those things or make sure you're in line with all those things. I mean, we are, not because that consumers or whatever. It's just because we really care about that. You know? Yeah. And when you go to restaurants, nowadays at restaurants, you see young people, you know, that are even like managers, like bar managers or restaurant managers. They're younger, you know, they're not like, I just feel
that's what we need.
You know, well, and that's going to shape up the businesses itself. I mean, if you had a younger, diverse, you know, person of color, minority that's in a leadership role in a restaurant, chances are, you know, they're going to want to, you know, they're leading that way. Right. So that's good.
It's kind of funny because, I mean, we're talking about culture and the way businesses treat different cultures in the business and how open and diverse they are. And I work for General Motors. And so they claim to be extremely diverse. Like they LGBTQ, they fly the flag, whatever. Yeah. I guess like my problem with that is like, it's not that. It's the fact that these companies, giant companies, jump on board and they have no relationships with anybody in these communities. They just say that they support these people, and they don't really care. Like for instance, there's a girl, and you might know her, but she works at GM, and she's from Mexico.
Okay.
Can't speak any English, and they tried firing her for not being able to speak English.
Gosh. Yeah.
And I'm like, you hired her.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to fight? Like, you want to be like inclusive, you want to be diverse, but yet you're going to fire somebody who can't speak English because you decided to hire her. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't, and it's very unfortunate.
But it's that's my problem with like big businesses and just getting on board and saying that they support all these different, I mean, and maybe they do, but show it, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I like about small businesses, when they do support those different communities, those different events, it shows, because I mean, they typically have those people working for them.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that want to go work for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and clearly it's a huge need to have these incubator like kitchens, because there's a few that are opening up here in Lansing, a few more.
Yes.
I can't remember the name. What's the one downtown? That's
the Makata Club.
Yeah, the Makata Club.
Yeah.
And then isn't there another one too? I think I got somebody
incubator. I don't know.
Somebody just told me. I think there's one on. It's like this church or something that opened up on the north side of Lansing.
Okay.
And they have like an incubator kitchen too.
Yeah. Yeah. So like something from the pandemic is that a lot of these organizations that have kitchens in it, or even like churches that have a kitchen, some of those are underutilized. So a lot of them, and since it's a licensed kitchen, they can rent it out if they want. And I think that's what's been going on, is that you see churches with commercial kitchens that have been underutilized, especially after the pandemic.
That's what Aaron Meadows does.
Okay, yeah. So then you try to get an entrepreneur that's that wants to rent it out and start their business. That's awesome. So I think that's what, I forget what church that is that you're saying, but the Makata Club, I mean, that's going to be awesome too. I mean, they're going to be incubating a lot of how do you say it, entrepreneurs.
Right. Is that what the Lansing Shuffle is too? Do you know?
The Lansing Shuffle isn't so much as an incubator, but it is a shared kitchen. Like it's a shared, I think they share one big hub kitchen, but then they all have their own stall and their own equipment and their own little kitchen.
Yeah.
But I mean, that type of atmosphere is trendy, like get different concepts, the diverse, the better, and then put a bar there or some type of entertainment that brings people together. And then they have a variety of like a food court. That's been trending for a while now, and it's nice to see it here in Lansing. The Makata is different just because they're going to be incubating them. So they're going to be using their connections with other entrepreneurs or business organizations so that they can help these entrepreneurs.
That's cool.
Go to that next step,
That's very cool.
So that'll be really, really awesome once that gets going, especially because, in downtown, I mean, it's going to be a thriving place, now with the Performing Arts Center, the first one that's going to open up here. I think this weekend already it started.
Yeah, I think it was.
Wall. Yeah. Things are looking good in there, at least since the past 10 years that I've been here. But the Mikado will be sweet because they got those connections to help those entrepreneurs succeed. And yeah, I'm excited for that.
That's very cool. And then one last question, we can wrap this up. But do you plan on opening up other locations, or is this your first one and you're just gonna kind of see how it goes and then?
Yeah, this will be my first one. I would love to. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, I want to keep this simple, duplicatable, so that we can, use the same model. Again, source more from local farmers, pay higher than average wages. Create a really awesome culture, and then just put Peruvian food more on the map here. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about that again. Like, yeah, thinking ahead, overthinking it and everything. But I think that's what's been awesome since we've started, is that we've done so many different like big caterings, farmers markets, food truck events. Like we've gained so much experience. Operating in different ways,
right?
Very flexible, that it's caused me to not shy away from any of these things, So like, yeah, opening up a Another spot in the future is definitely in my mind. But yeah, this one is perfect for us because it's a perfect springboard for our business. Like, you know, we're around 4 hotels. We're right off the highway for the people that are traveling for us on the weekends. You know, we're close to MSU. MSU has been great to us. They've helped me put products on shelves, just mentorships, caterings. We put our food truck on campus too. I mean, we're in the perfect spot for us to increase the operation and to learn, you know, like it's a numbers game too. So like, I mean, once we're there, it's going to be awesome because it's just going to get more, we're going to get more number, like we're just getting more experience, and then what works, what doesn't. Right. And then how do we bring more people and I would love, I mean, I love Lansing. I love the East Side neighborhood. Unfortunately, I just couldn't find anything that really made sense to us so that we can continue the path that we're going in terms of like, you know, the size of a kitchen or
right.
how much is needed to build it out and stuff. Things are tight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're still basically like a startup, you know. So now that we have the first restaurant, we're just gonna learn a lot, and I would love to just put a spot in Lansing at some point. I love Lansing. I mean, Lansing was great to us. So, but
that's awesome.
Having the food truck, we'll be in Lansing quite a bit for sure. Still, though.
That's awesome. Like you said, it's a mobile kitchen, so you can put it wherever.
Yes.
One last question. Are you going to be hiring anybody?
We are. So I've already been in talks with a couple people that have been very interested. And now that we're finally going to open, you know, talk to them and then see if we, again, locally, I mean, luckily, I have already 2 or 3 people that are potentially just going to join the team. And then once I anticipate by springtime, yeah, we're going to start at least hiring at least 1 or 2 more people, especially because of the food truck operation in the summer, that's heavy, and then caterings and all that. So yeah, I mean, that's the goal for sure. We're going to open up with 4 to 5 people this winter, and then from there, yeah, check it out. Yeah, see how we go.
Very cool, man. Well, I'm excited to check out the new place eventually.
Thanks,
and
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. This was awesome. This is a really awesome, like, this environment is sweet. I have questions about what's over here, though.
All right.
This is sweet. Yeah, man. Thank you, bro.
Yep, thank you.